Hey everybody, Dennis Mattern, Complete Advisor. Glad you're joining us. We've got a double feature this week. We're dropping 2 episodes, and the topic is client events. It is that time of year where you need to start thinking about what you're doing, how you're prepping for a holiday party or any client event, especially if it's an end of the year. And this week we have 2 advisors, 2 different locations, and 2 different approaches to client events. If you're watching one video, make sure you check out the other. We're going to hit do's and don'ts. We're going to hit lessons learned. We're also going to hit some great advice on getting started if you've never done a client event. You do not want to miss it. Let's take a listen. The purpose of the Complete Advisor is 100% to help advisors become better. I like to think about this show as a little bit of like locker room talk, that conversation where the top collar, the top button gets opened up and people relax a little bit. And we talk about practices for real. And we have these real conversations, not with somebody who's got like some system in there, some academic egghead that's never sat across from somebody and actually sold something. I guess that's my job.
You're the academic egghead.
I tried though.
Something.
I did try. I did try.
Didn't you fail selling life insurance to yourself once?
No, to my wife.
Oh, to your wife.
To my wife. And this is the last time you're on the show. But so our topic today is we're going to talk about client events. And I've talked to advisors, top advisors, that don't believe in them. You would not believe that, right? But literally, over on the wall over there, I can point out a couple folks that think they just have no interest at all in doing it. I think it's a super valuable way to connect with your clients. We've talked before about the cost savings of maintaining relationships versus having to always get new ones.
Right.
So our guest today, Erik Bowman. I'll give you bona fides. Erik has a thriving practice out in the beautiful state of Colorado.
We do.
Erik also coaches and mentors other advisors.
Right.
So you've got the asset management, you're doing the whole kit and caboodle, you've got staff, you've got a beautiful office, but you're also doing client events.
Yes.
And that's why we're here today. So Erik Bowman, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks
sir.
for having me, Dennis. Glad to be here again.
Also, you know what? On Saturday Night Live, they give people jackets when they hit like a certain club.
Do I get one for today?
I think that I've got you that cup of coffee, and that cup of coffee is special because that marks, I think this might be the
3rd or 4th.
I think this might be the 4th episode. I think this makes you numero uno in appearances on the podcast.
Oh, I love it.
Awesome, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk client events. So you've got your practice. When did you decide to start doing client events? And then we'll talk about what you're doing. So when did you make the decision to do it?
So when I went independent, May 2nd, 2016, that very first year, so going into 2017, we did our first major client event. We did our annual Bowman Financial Strategies Market Outlook and Review.
Wow, it's a long title.
Client-only event. So we've shortened it to BFS, Market Outlook and Review. We're like Kentucky Fried Chicken. We're going to KFC here soon. So BFS, Market Outlook and Review. And we just wanted to get all of our clients together. We had great attendance. It's wild. When we were new, and everybody was pretty excited to be there, and we had like 80 people to our very first event. It seemed like husbands and wives, and we let them bring friends, things like that. But we call it more of a location event or a destination event. So we find an interesting venue local, and at that venue we serve dinner. So we do a dinner and then a presentation. The presentation is me doing a market outlook, talking about the investments that we have, how they've performed, talking about repositioning of assets for the next quarter. We do quarterly reallocations. But really the primary purpose is to create more relationship bridges with our clients and to let clients become friends with each other too. There's a little bit of Velcro that can start to build when they become friends with each other, and our clients are, they seem really dedicated to us and the firm, and I think that this is a part of it because they know we want to keep. It's part of keeping them informed. Number one.
Yep.
So they stay well informed because not only do we do the annual market outlook and review, we also do a quarterly market outlook and review client event. In addition, it just shows gratitude for them being clients. We're feeding them a nice meal. The destination is usually a pretty cool place to go. We're doing it at Castle this year in
Nice.
Colorado, and it's going to be on August 6th. It's coming around the corner. We do typically do it in the summertime, late summer.
Why?
We want to be outside.
Nice.
If we can, not all the time, but the last event was we rented out an airport hangar that has a museum in it, so the hangar doors are open. We're watching airplanes land.
That's
and,
a great idea. That's
it was
cool.
really fun. Yeah, really great. The Castle, we've done it once before. Everybody loved it so much, we decided to do that one again. But it's also an opportunity when you have a pipeline that's pretty active. Mm-hmm. You can cherry pick those clients or those prospective clients that you really want to have come on board that may be thinking about it, and we invite them, and then they talk to our clients sitting with somebody at a table of 8. Almost everybody that attends that becomes a client. Matter of fact, I can't think of a person who didn't become a client who went to one of those events. Mm-hmm. But we have many people that have become clients. We also encourage our clients to bring friends who could benefit from an introduction to Bowman Financial Strategies. So we don't just say bring a friend. We say bring a friend who could benefit from an introduction to Bowman Financial Strategies. And every year there's 1 or 2 that come. Every year, if not a little bit more. We already have 3 this year. So I suspect we'll probably get 3 good referrals that'll turn into clients. And we've had some really tremendous clients come from those. We also do company update. Like I think that people enjoy seeing how the company is thriving and growing. They certainly don't want an unsuccessful financial strategies company managing their assets.
Yeah.
They love that we're hiring younger people and they're watching them grow and become better at their job. They love seeing the people that have been with us for a long time, and they talk to them on the phone like Gretchen, our operations manager. Then they get to see her in person every year and sometimes at other events, and that relationship piece just really helps. And my staff loves meeting all the clients in person too.
I think something you said that is very, very important. In fact, I wrote it down and then you came back to it too, is community. Like you mentioned creating this community within the client base of connecting people there. I think like when I was a kid, and maybe when you were a kid too, like our dads belonged to different groups,
right,
like VFW and Elks and Knights of Columbus and the Moose Law, all these different lodges. I mean, even Fred and Barney went to the Royal Order of Water Buffaloes.
Right, I do remember that.
So, like, you had these community groups where people actually had this connection, and now everything's gone. Everything is supposed to be more about connecting, and the reality is everyone's more isolated. So this creates that community, and then the community also has, people like you just mentioned. They're interested in you and the practice.
They want to be a part of BFS. They walk out of there like, we are a part of this thing called BFS, Bowman Financial Strategies, and we do other events. We've always looked for ways to do that. A couple years ago, go back 4 years ago, one of my attempts was we got mugs for everybody. They were logoed mugs, but then we would have them write their own name on it in a special marker, and then we could bake the mug, and their name would stay on there forever. And every time they would come into the office, they'd have their mug with their name on it.
Wow.
And then 2020 hit, and nobody came into the office anymore. We still try to remember. We have the mugs, but like that one, it's a neat idea. It sounds better in idea form than real life and practice. These meetings, though, a couple of things we've done, just to summarize.
Yep.
The annual outlook and review is something we've done now every year except for 2020. We used to do an annual holiday party as well. So that was just fun down at the Chris Crindle Mart in Denver, in late November, food and just having a good time, really. We stopped doing that one because we do so many events now. We have our annual event. We have our quarterly events, which we do 3 of those. The annual event substitutes for one of the quarterlies. And the purpose, once again, is really multifold. One is to keep them informed. People love it when they're informed, even if it's not the best news. They want to be informed, and they're actually, I think, they like the idea that we're willing to talk to them about the things that are going great and also the things that we need to keep our eyes on that can create fear. So we do that. We handle let's go over the structure. There's quite a lot of effort that goes into this, but so we'll get into that.
We'll get there.
Okay.
We'll get there.
All right.
Hey, I'm leading this dance party, buddy. You hold on.
All right.
Okay, so let's go back though. I want to start with the first one, and then let's talk structure in a second. But Do you lean, so the first one you decide to do this, did you pull in what would seem to me would be an easy one for a lot of people? Because the first thought that maybe people listening to this, advisors listening to this, are thinking like cost.
Yeah.
And so I do know that some advisors will lean on maybe their favorite if they're securities registered.
Right.
If you're not securities registered, I don't think this avenue will be open to you because it usually just isn't. But if you're securities registered, you usually are using one fund. You've got a fund wholesaler that usually would look to maybe co-op. Did you go that route?
No.
Why not?
We find it kind of difficult to get them to relinquish funds.
Really?
Yeah.
We'll call somebody after.
Yeah,
We'll get on together.
Yeah, I think that there is a couple out there now that would, but I don't need to have it branded. I don't need logoed folks coming in and talking to them. I have had accountants speak. I've had real estate agents speak. I've had estate planners speak. So I do bring in a guest speaker every single year of one type or another. Mm-hmm. So that's a part that we add to it. I think, they'll give us some swag sometimes, some of the carriers, but I don't know how far that really goes. So I have not really dug in on that one.
Like reached out to, I'm only mentioning this one because they're headquartered here, but like American Century is downtown and like that route. Okay, so we scratched that off the table.
You could do that though.
Yeah,
potentially, you could find somebody that would help fund a portion of it, as long as they get their time to give an educational discussion.
The pro is they might kick in. The con is that they're going to be talking.
That's right.
There's their expectation, which we were just talking timeshares before, and there's no such thing as a free lunch. So that's where that all comes from. But okay, so you decide to do it on a quarterly basis. You get 90 odd people there.
Well, 90, really 100 plus is to the annual event.
Annual.
The quarterly event, we don't get that many at all. We get a significant amount, but we certainly don't get 80% of our client base because they know it's happening every quarter.
Yeah.
We try to record it, then it has to go through compliance. By the time compliance is through approving it, it's time for the next quarterly event. So I actually don't go through the recording process too many times. I did it once, and then it wasn't worth it. They were just waiting for the next quarterly live event.
So well, let's talk then. Let's talk about, before we get into the logistics, though. So the very first one, how did you decide who you were inviting? Because if you're feeding them, that's expensive.
Yeah, every client.
You brought everybody in.
I still invite every client. Doesn't matter tiers. It's the one event all clients get invited to, period.
Oof.
Every single one. But they don't all show up. You get a percentage of clients that show up. The average number per year is between 1 and 200 now that show up. And the good news is it tends to be the higher tier clients. Just they're the ones that show up. The others, for whatever reason, don't. I actually don't understand the psychology of that, but we're glad with the way it works out. But we invite everybody. We figure it's just a huge referral event. When they go home and they've been to an event like that, and they say somebody's talking to them at a cocktail party or a barbecue, and they say, what's your investment advisor doing? And I go, well, ours is a retirement planner, but here's what we just did. We were just at this dinner, and he gave us outlook and review and talked about the market and our investments, and things seem to be going well there. So we uniquely stand out compared to any competition, and then that allows people to more easily refer others to us.
That makes a lot. Yeah, that does make a ton of sense because they always. You see different business coaches and such, and they always say, identify the characteristics of your best clients and then figure out ways to replicate. Those are the people you want to work with.
That's right.
Right. And so if you've got that person, your best client, talking about you in a positive light, that is a good thing. I also am a huge believer of people if something's going bad, people want to be informed. Negative surprises, if you're not talking to them as an advisor, and things are going bad, that is the ultimate wedge point. I think
we did our 2022 annual event in late July. That was when the market was at its lowest point. Yep. And to me, it was the most important time to be in front of everybody live. I really think so. I think just people appreciate the idea. Somebody's watching, somebody cares, they're doing the best they can. They know more than they do as a client, and they want to hear what we're thinking. They want to know what you're thinking. They don't want to just hear platitudes. They want to know what you're thinking about now, about the potential futures in the marketplace, and how that will direct traffic when it comes to your planning ideas. They just want to know what you're thinking.
And if something's not working or the market's not performing, they want to know why. If you can, I think if you can
Yep.
explain why something is happening, because otherwise you just see the scary news and, oh, my account's down. Well, here's why, and
Well,
here's
guess what it also does? It shows why we use unique tools like fixed indexed annuities that have zero loss. That in a down market,
Zero's your
I was
hero.
able to say the vast majority of you are sitting in roughly 30% fixed indexed annuities for really good reason. And right now it's showing how important they are in your portfolio. That was a main takeaway from my presentation in 2022.
Nice.
Yeah.
So what about, so the annual event is the
One of our
sit-down dinner.
quarterlies in a way, but it's
Right.
big. Everybody's invited. A lot of people know it's a fun event, so there's large attendance.
Is that the one that you do in the summer?
Yeah. Yep. We
Okay.
do that in July or August.
July or August. So on the quarter, so that's in person. What do you look for? What do you look for in a venue?
Just something that's a little more interesting than going to a restaurant for sure. So we've had the airport hangar, we've had Cherokee Ranch and Castle a couple times. We've used a wedding venue, those type of places. Just some place that's a little more unique, beautiful. You can get a feel for the Colorado Rocky Mountains, things like that. We're just
How far will people go?
well, all of our clients are within roughly 20 minutes of our office. So I like to keep the event within the Denver metro area. So no more than a half hour for most people.
Gotcha.
Most people, it's going to be 10 minutes away.
Gotcha. That's cool. Okay, so that's the annual.
Yep.
Tell me about the quarterly. So how are you doing those? You're not doing them in person.
Yeah. So the way we do the
Okay.
quarterlies, quarterly market outlook and review, because we reallocate our portfolios every 3 months. It doesn't mean we throw it out and we start over, but there's always going to be a slight
might nudge
allocation
it.
change. We nudge it, right?
Nudge it.
So what we do is every quarter, we do a live event in the office with a Zoom. So I have a camera set up. We kind of rearrange the office a little bit, and we have a Zoom going, and then we also have a live audience.
How big? How big of an audience?
About
can you
20
fit?
people usually show up.
Who gets that invite?
All of our clients.
But what do you say like? I mean,
First
like,
come, first serve. Yeah, we're limited to how many people can be in the office, but we literally invite you. We send out the quarterly review to every client because we want them on Zoom at a minimum
Sure,
so they
right.
can hear the review. And we say, if you wish to attend, we have a 1 hour cocktail hour that occurs an hour prior to the live Zoom starting.
Nice.
And we make a charcuterie board, or when I say we, I mean Heidi. She makes some food and it's really fun, and we'll have some wine and we'll have non-alcoholic drinks, and people literally socialize for an hour. And I'm walking around meandering, building more relationships, and I just love seeing all my clients anyway.
So do they have to confirm for those seats?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we trust. I mean, you write a good email that says the next upcoming quarterly review, it's going to be a Zoom. For those of you that want to attend the cocktail hour prior to the Zoom event, please RSVP. Space is limited. Contact Heidi and let her know. That's all. And if somebody called and it was too full, we'd say, I'm sorry, it's full this time.
Do you have to? This is locker room talk, right? So do you have anybody that, like, if there's 20 spots that you might say, hold off on telling Bob that he's got a spot. Let's see if we can get a couple more in. I know you love all your clients probably equally, but I mean, let's be honest. There's probably one or
Here's
two.
something you could do. I will say we don't, because it's not like everybody's clamoring to come into the office. We do so many
True.
of them. It's like it's a routine now. So people aren't always just jumping on board the cocktail hour part. But it's a lot of the same people come, which is kind of interesting. But you could send out 2 emails by tier of client base. And in one of them, you could mention the cocktail hour, and one of them you couldn't. The downside of that is the people on the live Zoom will quickly find out that there was a live cocktail hour because they see the live audience there that I'm speaking to.
So when you come up with your content, are you coming up with that all yourself?
Yeah.
Or where are you pulling from?
I mean, I read the Wall Street Journal every single day. I follow the markets all the time. I am tracking inflation data, inflation reports, interest rate data, market performance, bond performance all the time. So I always have a pretty good idea because that's the message I'm delivering in my individual meetings when I'm doing reviews anyway. So it's usually pretty good. But what I like to do the week leading up to the event is I'll collect a couple headlines from the Wall Street Journal, and then I'll have a stack of those with me just to prove that the headlines mean almost nothing, and they're meant to just cause fear that we need to keep a level head. And so I'll talk about what they're saying about inflation, about the market, and then we'll kind of even review sometimes what I talked about last time. Let's see how those headlines panned out. So I just want
nice.
them to see, number one, it does a couple of things. It lets them know this guy stays informed, whether he interprets things perfectly or not. There's somebody whose life is to stay informed on the finances that impact our life. That's one reason I do that, because they're not reading the Wall Street Journal. I am their surrogate. I am doing it for them. And then I tie it together. I don't know everything about the market, but I think in the financial advisory business, and in particular portfolio development and management, it takes experience. It's not the thing you do first year in the business and all of a sudden you know how to do it. You literally have to get beaten up in the market a couple of times to realize, when things are going bad, and you can kind of sort of see when interest rates might need to go up, our bond portfolio is going to suffer. Perhaps we should not be directly exposed to bonds in the same magnitude. So in 2022, we got rid of almost all bonds in our portfolio and started using alternative structures, which also is a great message to clients. Shows he understands something I don't know, and he made an adjustment in my portfolio I never would have made. That's one of the reasons why we use a professional.
It's, what I like about that is you're bringing people together, you're communicating, you're strengthening the relationships, but you're also doing a flex. And the flex is, I've got this, I'm watching.
Absolutely.
No. I mean, it really is your ability to almost give another commercial of.
Yep.
I mean, the message that you're sending out is the community. I've got this. This is why you're here, and this is just to reassure you of the decision you made to put your trust in me.
That's it. That's it right there. Yeah. That's the reason why we're doing these things, and for them to bring somebody who could benefit from an introduction to BFS.
I like it. Okay, we are going to hit a couple things here as we get ready to land this plane.
Okay, we need to do logistics, right?
Let's talk logistics. Yeah. That's part of here. Okay, so let's talk logistics.
Yeah, so it's a big deal when you're going to have between 1 and 200 people. This is like making a wedding. So you have to have a caterer. You have to have the location. So we start this look at least 3 months ahead of time. 4 or 5 months ahead of time, we're talking about where we might want to do it this summer. And then Heidi has been handling, all the heavy work of getting she'll find the location. We'll agree with that. She'll contact them. She finds the date that works. And we have to talk and make sure it's a date that works for us and for that we think is not a bad time when it comes to sports events, things like that. All the other things that could complicate it. And then we have to line up the caterer. Major event locations oftentimes have a list of caterers you have to use. So you need to be aware of that and then find that list of caterers and work through that. Then we have to create a save the date. You want to get this out in front of people rather quickly, not too far ahead, but about 2 months ahead of time. Yep. Hey, save the date, August 6th, we're going to have our annual meeting. And then there's going to be more details that come out in a subsequent email closer to the event, probably about 3 weeks out. And then, of course, like 2 days before the event's a final reminder. And we are confirming RSVPs. We're tracking them already. We're already up to close to 100 people RSVP'd for this August 6th event. Nice. So we track it as a team. Our operations manager, Gretchen, anybody who talks to anybody, they know now there's part of the script, if you wanted to call it a script, is don't forget to remind them of the event, confirm whether they're going to go, update the system.
Paper invitations?
Not yet. Email. No, you could go through that.
Pretty costly.
I don't know that it's just. I don't know if it's required. Email seems to work pretty fine
because you already have the relationship, and they should already be recognizing your email and not auto deleting.
They're expecting the event.
Nice.
They know it's coming. We're like year number 7 of doing this.
So on the invite, does it say if there is somebody that you think it would be worth introducing to?
That's the closing paragraph. Say we encourage you to invite somebody who could benefit from an introduction to BFS. Please notify Heidi to make sure space is available. Gives you a little flexibility.
I like that.
Can I bring my 13-year-old son? It's like, or grandson. I'm not sure that that's really what we want to do. They're not going to benefit from an introduction to BFS.
Yeah. They might like the barbecue.
Yeah, we don't get a lot of that, though. And sometimes we're gracious about it. Say, sure, bring your grandson. He's in town with you. And so that's fine. It's kind of cute to have a younger kid running around.
What's his net worth? Yeah, okay, he can come. He can come. Does he have a trust fund? All right, well, let's talk. So we got logistics there. I'm a little curious. When we did my oldest daughter's wedding, you'd call a caterer or you'd call an event center and they would say, they give you the price.
Yeah.
And then they would say, oh, wait, is this a wedding? And then the price would double. Do they do that on these kind of events?
No, I mean, the catering's expensive these days. Yeah. Let's just break this cost thing down too. If people are concerned about that, let's imagine that you 100 people and it cost $13,000, which it can. That's a lot of money. Now, if you have a smaller firm and you only have 30 people coming, then it's going to cost, $4,000. That's roughly $100 to $150 per head. Let's call it $150 per head. Mm-hmm. You go and say, how much money do I generate in revenue from a client on an annual basis? $4,000, $5,000, $6,000, $7,000. So I'm going to put $150 into them. Then then you go, is that $150 worth its price when it comes to retaining them for another year? And that goes with any event you do, is just think about it in that respect. And then what you find is it's so much more inexpensive to retain a client than to get a new client, which can have an average cost per new client in the hundreds or thousands of dollars for sure.
And that's, that's a we've had this conversation before of numbers and the numbers of your practice and knowing them.
Yeah.
And that would definitely be, if you're not tracking these kind of things for your practice, this is a clear reason why, because you could make a decision like, wow, it's $150 per plate. Well, guess what? A new client costs you hundreds of,
if not $1,000 plus, depending on the seminar and a success.
Yeah.
One caveat, you got to make sure you're following compliance, right? You have to get these events in front of compliance. There has to be a sincere educational event associated with it. Different rules apply when there's not education. Then it's considered gifts. And all I can tell you is we are definitely, it's like 2 hours, hour and a half at least, of education with multiple speakers talking about topics important to retirees. Typically, it's kind of, like I said, lawyers and accountants and me, and then my team. I give them a chance to talk to, train them how to speak in front of large audiences. Let the the folks in the audience kind of like, oh, look at Brandon and Haley, they're doing so good, growing up and presenting. It's really fun to do that, but you want to just make sure you're following all the compliance rules and get them submitted.
What? How far, in your experience, how far ahead do you get your content? The base content, because it's got to be, obviously,
about
it's got
a
to be
month.
timely.
Like I know what I'm going to be talking about: inflation, interest rates, the market. So about the week before, I'm pulling together the Wall Street Journal headlines that I need, or any other sources. Sometimes I do use other sources. And after the event, you just give them an outline prior to the event, meaning compliance. Then after the event, the details. Mm-hmm. But they want to know basically what you're going to be talking about.
Nice. Do you, for the quarterlies, for the non-annual quarterlies? Yep. Are you recording those, or are you not? You mentioned
I have, but like I did it once where I did record it, and it just takes so long to get it approved from compliance before you could actually send it out, and you have to edit it, and you have to add the disclosures. By the time it's ready to go, we're a month and a half away from the next quarterly, and we're talking to people one-on-one already on the phone and otherwise, so I'm actually stopping that.
The recording side.
I've only done it once, and I'm not doing it anymore.
It can be a lot of work in recording things that have recording, but then having to edit.
Yeah.
It can get choppy, and especially if it's you're on camera the whole time.
Yeah, and I want people to go.
Yeah.
I want them there. We're almost missing the relational boat if they're not going. So by not recording it, they've had a little bit more incentive to attend in person.
I assume then the non-dinner quarterlies are much shorter. Because you don't have the length, right?
So what happens is the cocktail hour beforehand, let's say 5 to 6, then I start at 6. It goes. I've got them now where I try to commit to 45 minutes max, and that's the conversation. I don't usually have guest speakers for that when I'm going down and dirty, talking about it, and then we're out of there by 8 o'clock.
You take questions?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, all the time. Any questions at all, live audience or on the Zoom? Any questions on any topic?
Nice. Okay, so let's talk a couple do's and don'ts off the top of your head. So I'm an advisor. I'm watching this episode, or I'm listening to it because you can catch us on all kinds of venues. But I'm listening to this conversation, and I'm thinking like, okay, I've never done this. Give me one or two things that maybe some learning lessons that you had.
Yeah, start off, do one in your office. It'll be a little bit smaller. Do as many as you can. Make sure you're smart about the invitation, but do it in your office to keep the cost lower to start. That's obviously way less expensive.
Oh, yeah.
But you'll still get 80% of the oomph, the benefit of that, just because it's a live event. People will think it's so unique that they have this opportunity to come in or watch it on a Zoom. So keep the cost low at first if that's a concern of yours. Make sure you are prepared with the topic, with the information. important. That you don't talk about the market if you don't know anything about the market.
Don't wing it.
Yeah, so you need to be prepared on the information. And when it comes to technology now, with all these cameras and microphones, you need to make sure you're set up. So you have to take the half day has to be turned off practically from meetings so that you can rearrange the office if you're going to do that and set up the cameras and test them and make sure Zoom's working.
I cannot reiterate more what you just said. There's this natural, they say the fear of public speaking is like one of the biggest fears that everybody has, right?
For some reason, we don't have it.
I don't know what they're talking about. But people get nervous about that. And then I have seen this where when you throw tech in, people get panicky if something does. Like if we're going to start at the hour and it's 5 minutes before and something's not working, people panic and then all chaos breaks loose. That's why I would just totally reiterate what you're saying. You need to practice, do a dress rehearsal so that you're comfortable.
Yeah.
And I would also say, because I've done just about everything wrong you can do with tech, which is why I'm really comfortable with it, but I'm not a tech guy.
Yeah.
But what I will say is definitely have a checklist, run through it, and then I would also, there's nothing wrong with sticky notes, because I cannot tell you how many times, like on Teams meetings.
I keep a yellow pad with all of my notes right there in front of me. I'm not afraid to have some notes in front of me at all. I'm not trying to memorize things. I keep a stack of the newspapers, my yellow pad with my outline that I want to talk about so I don't forget.
And not just the content, but like making sure you're like, don't forget to turn this on, click this here on the saw. I'm talking just on the tech, like totally make sure. Okay, so learning lessons, anything that you bumped your toe on.
Well, also don't forget, it is like an advertisement for your company.
Yes, it is.
So promote your company. Say, look what we're trying to do. And then you end it with, we're trying to grow the company. There's nothing we like better than working with friends of the clients that we love to work with already. Be on the outlook for, friends and family and folks in your network that could benefit from an introduction. Don't forget to say that not only in those quarterlies, but every time you have a meeting, every time you have a phone call. Now what we've stolen this from Mr. Sawyer. We have our brochure now, and every time a client comes in, we give them 3, and I say, I've got something for you. And they go, oh, you got something for us? That's so nice. I give them 3 brochures, and I say, you only have one job with this, and that's to hand out all 3 to individuals that could benefit from an introduction to our firm.
Shameless plug, because I think that might be episode 17. The gentleman you're referring to, Charles Sawyer, runs a practice out of Maryland. Amazing. He is basically 100% referral. And what I love about what Charles does is that people will say they're always looking for, it's just like weight loss. People are looking for the magic thing.
Right.
And Charles, if you want to know how to do referrals, this guy does it, and it's just, this is how he does it. And he literally in that episode is like boom, boom, boom. And that's what he's been doing forever. And that's why he's over on that wall.
Yeah, I'm stealing his ideas the best I can, and he loves it. He's more than happy for people to use his ideas. He's gracious with all of that information.
Okay, any final do's or don'ts?
Do events because they retain clients. The proof is in the pudding. If you go back to 2016, and we have not lost a single client of import that we would want to not lose.
Right.
Not a single one. Literally, we have 100% retention, and that's pretty incredible, I believe, and it's because we really try hard. We build these bridges that are undeniable, and it breaks the ice on some of the folks that might be a little harder to build relationships with when they start to see that you're real and you really care. There's no way to show that you really care than by getting in front of them and telling them how much you care, and then actually showing the education, how you pay attention, and how you're watching their back.
On that retention of clients, invariably, there tends to be a situation where you're going to lose a client to natural causes.
Yep.
And a lot of times, one of the things that a lot of times happens to other advisors is that you've maybe connected more with one of those family members, one of the spouses. And that other spouse, when that main spouse that you have the relationship passes, a lot of times those people leave. It's hard to retain them. They can. And so this is another way to try and build that relationship with both people.
Good point, because you do see the non-participating spouse at least that once a year or once a quarter, because a lot of times they don't come into the reviews. I mean, there are some families like that, but we do see them at the events, and that point is well taken and true.
And you're building not only, like you were saying before, you're building that relationship with them just now, but also that community with the other clients to make that relationship
now,
maybe
here's an
more.
idea. What if you did an event focused on them bringing their families so that you can start building bridges with their children? Now, granted, some of them don't live nearby, but many do, and you can do a Zoom with it as well. That's something we're thinking about, different techniques to build the bridge with that next generation, because we're seeing it. Our clients die. And right now, we've only got the situation where one of the spouses passes away, but when the second spouse passes, that is a huge question mark whether the management stays with us. So we are now undertaking concerted effort because we want an intergenerational firm that continues when I'm gone and Heidi's gone. That I think that is something to really consider what it looks like.
That is, there was a carrier that used to do, and their cultures, they've got purchased by another conglomerate, and their culture's totally changed.
Yeah.
But they used to have advisors. If you qualified for their trips, you could take your grandkids and they would do things like Disney or things like that.
Oh, nice.
And those, at that time, those advisors, I mean, that was a relationship that was like, I mean, it was almost like they were blood brothers or something. Like it was so tight. Okay, so those are some do's. So one, start, right?
Yeah, do it. That's number one. Just do it. You're going to make some mistakes. You might make some errors. You'll learn from it, and your next one will be better.
Be prepared when you do it.
Yep.
And then also, you don't have to go huge. Do it in your office. Just do it, right? Give me a don't. Give me two don'ts. Think of off the top of your head here. I'm totally putting you on the spot.
Gosh.
Don't procrastinate. How about that one?
Don't
not do it.
You just do it. Yeah, pick a date and do it. 2 months out, give yourself time to prepare and actually do it. The earlier you are in your firm development, I think the more need there is to do it, so you can grow more rapidly and get more referrals. And because it's not 200 people, you can handle if you move from a group of 30 to a group of 40, it's not going to be a big deal, and that's 10 potential referrals.
Yeah.
So don't forget to tell people to bring folks that could benefit from an introduction to your firm.
Nice. All right, that's where we're going to land this plane, right here. Okay, so Erik, thank you for having this conversation with me.
Thank you.
Everybody else, refer back. Erik mentioned the Charles Sawyer episode. I think it's episode 17. He totally goes through his complete referral process. You definitely want to check that out. Also, if you get a chance, love it if you would like, subscribe, follow the show. If you have any comments, let me know. I read them. If you have any suggestions for topics, I look at those. Thank you for being here. We'll see you next episode.
Thanks.